All right, now we're going to go to the back of the pattern envelope where there is so much valuable information, but there's a lot of information there and sometimes it just becomes overwhelming. So I'm going to try and help demystify all of that. So at the top of the back of most pattern envelopes, you're going to see the description of the garment. And this is a lot of great information, so read it carefully. In this case, we've got a very close fitting garment. That's what it tells us. So if you're not interested in having a garment that fits really snug to the body, this is important information for you. The fact that this is a lined dress. Do I want a lined dress? Is that what I was expecting or I want to get into? It has front seam details, armhole bands, insert left and right lower binding, exposed back zipper. All this is great information in helping you decide what pattern and if this is the pattern for you. The other thing I just want to quickly point out on the back of this pattern is the width of fabric. It usually gives us the amount of yardage we need for 45 as well as for 60. But in this pattern, it only gives us the measurements for 60, and there's a reason for that. That is, there are pieces in this pattern that you could not cut out on a 45-inch wide fabric. All right, now let's discuss how to determine the amount of yardage you need for the pattern you've chosen and the width of the fabric. So right here, I'm going to show you on the back of the envelope for the Motor City Express, one of my patterns. And let's say that you've determined you're a size small. Well, then you read right straight down this grid to determine the yardage. So here you see it's a jacket yardage if using contrasting lapel. We'll just follow that right over to the small, and now we know if we have 45-inch fabric, we need 2 yards. Now, down here at the lining, let's say that we have 60-inch fabric. So we come right over here, and we know if our lining is 60 inches, we need 1 3/8 yards. It's just that simple. Just make sure you're following the grid clearly, and if the pattern should suggest if you're using a nap fabric, you need more. If you're using plaids or diagonal stripes and you need more so that you can match it up, it will give you that information on the back of the pattern envelope. All right, we're going to go to another pattern envelope and discuss sizing as well. Okay, so on this particular brand of pattern, they put the sizing of that particular company right on the envelope flap. Makes it extremely convenient. But not all patterns do that. So you can go to either their website or the pattern catalog that you find in the fabric store, this one for instance, and they're always in the back. So you go to the back of that particular catalog and then you can look at the sizing and get a really good, clear understanding of what size you need to purchase. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about here on the back of the pattern envelope, and that is if the pattern, like this specific pattern, is recommended for knits only, don't make it out of a woven. The knit pattern has been drafted because it knows the fabric's going to stretch. So there's going to be less ease in a knit pattern than a woven. You may really like the design and want to have it made in a woven fabric. Just look through the catalogs. You'll find something that is drafted specifically for woven fabrics. But if it's a knit fabric, keep in mind all knits are not created equal. Some stretch far more than others. And most patterns are going to tell you this is the type of stretch you need for this particular pattern. Again, that's what the drafter was working toward. So on this envelope, on the back, it tells me how to determine if the knit that I want to purchase has the right amount of stretch. So for example, you're going to start out with a piece that's this length right up to this first arrow. All right, let me grab some fabric and I'll show you an example. So I have 2 knits here. This one has less stretch, so I want to see, is this the right amount of stretch? So I'm going to hold it right here at this end of the chart and then grab a hold of it right here at the end of the first arrow. Now I'm going to stretch it, and it is not stretching all the way to the end of the second arrow. So this knit is not suitable. So then you can audition another knit. And here I have one that I'm going to do the same test with. Right at the end of the chart, grab it at the end of this arrow and pull it to this arrow. I would say that this knit is perfect. It's not overstretched. I certainly could pull it tighter, but this is actually the amount of stretch that I need. Just a very simple test right here. And most patterns that call for knits will either give you this chart or they will give you some suggestions in the type of knits to use. Just remember, all knits are not created equal.